They went with songs to the battle. They were young.
Straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow.
They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted.
They fell with their faces to the foe.
They shall grow not old.
As we that are left grow old, age shall not weary them,
Nor the years condemn.
At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
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 Hello everybody, and a very good morning to you. I hope I find you well out there this morning. It's very, very cold, isn't it? Well, this weekend sees us remembering our fallen heroes. It's a very, very special weekend, and if you are going to a service, I'm sure you will have a wonderful time. It really is a special occasion, and my show this week is based around a very, very special young man indeed. Pte Joe Whittaker was a Territorial Army reservist with the 4th Battalion, the Parachute Regiment. He volunteered for his very first operational tour, and upon his return was due to start RMA Sandhurst for his Army officer training. Sadly, this was not to be. On the 24th of June 2008, Joe was involved in a search for explosive devices in Helmand province, and sadly was killed by what the MOD described as an improvised explosive device. He was 20 years of age. Joe's mum, Naomi, describes him as a truly wonderful son who was generous, funny, brave and loyal. Naomi also said that both herself and Joe's sister Kate are so proud of the courage and determination he had to serve his country. In 2008, Commanding Officer Ben Baldwin said of Joe, even at such a young age, Joe displayed all of the attributes specific to a man of the regiment, and we are proud to have known and stood alongside him. Today, a good soul has left us, and we, his brothers who are left, will never forget him. And as we are remembering our fallen heroes this weekend, I have the pleasure of being joined by Kate Bent, who is Joe's sister. Hello, Kate.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm a bit croaky, Kate, so you're going to have to help me out here. So, tell me a bit about Joe. He was born in Nuneaton, up here in Warwickshire.
Yeah.
What kind of younger brother was he that you recall?
So Joe was 18 months older than me.
You, yeah.
So most of my memories of the childhood that we shared are sort of typical siblings. Lots of fighting, lots of rivalry, lots of, sort of silliness, really. But it was lovely that we were close in age. And I always massively looked up to him. Anything that he wanted to do, I immediately wanted it to do as well.
Yeah.
Which is always frustrating if you're smaller and a bit weaker, and he can climb a tree and I can't climb a tree. But no, we had a really lovely childhood, and we moved to Stratford in early 1990.
Right.
So
where did the military side of it come in with Joe? At what age do you recall that he really got interested in military?
I remember I would have been 10, Joe would have been 11, and he was looking at secondary schools.
Right.
And we went to the open day at Warwick Boys' School. Yeah. And, you go around the classrooms and you go around all the facilities and all this kind of thing. And the only thing that Joe was remotely interested in was the demonstration stand they had for their combined cadet force.
Ah.
And so he didn't care about anything else. He just saw that and went, brilliant, that's what I wanted to do. If I'm going to go to school, then I want to have fun. And that was like a lot of fun. And, they just got kids doing team building exercises and crawling around in the mud with combats on. And he just absolutely was drawn to that. So as soon as he got to Warwick School, he joined the CCF and was with them throughout, and kind of progressed through the ranks of the cadets. So that by the time he left school, he was I can't remember what his rank was, but he'd sort of worked his way up and had sort of responsibility, and he just absolutely loved that. He sort of thrived on it. And so it was while he was at Warwick School then that they sort of helped him, with the sort of process of perhaps Sandhurst might be a really good step forward from that. He'd obviously shown a lot of aptitude and a massive amount of enthusiasm. That really did kind of kick off his army career, really.
So he sounds a very much sort of go-getting type of person, was he?
Yeah, 100%. Joe never really sat still.
Yeah.
The only time he'd sort of stop what he was doing was to eat, and then he'd be sort of straight back out, running around, getting involved, just being with people. Just loved being involved in whatever was going on. And just grabbing opportunities to have fun, really.
I remember the one only time that I saw Joe was in church, and it was when they announced that he would be going on tour. And he was sitting in front of us, and my 3 children were sort of misbehaving. They were getting bored with the service. And your brother was turning around and pulling faces at them and making them laugh, and done a great job distracting them. And then afterwards, I just remember him rushing backwards and forwards with cups of tea and biscuits and everything. Yeah. And I thought, he just looks a real nice, delightful young man.
Yeah, it's funny you say that about pulling faces at your kids. All of my cousins are younger than myself and Joe, and so he used to just love kind of lording it over all of them, when we were all younger, and it was always sort of a challenge thing, really, that he could have 7 small children or whatever all climbing on him, trying to pin him down, and he'd be sort of fighting them off and just having fun. And he used to love jokes, practical jokes, love teasing people. Used to get in trouble a little bit for winding up my cousins, but they all absolutely adored him, which was lovely.
Definitely. So you chose Drops of Jupiter by Train as your first track. Why this particular song?
So this one was actually suggested by one of Joe's really good friends, Amelia, who he knew through sort of the local Stratford scene, hockey, and all the things that he was involved in. Right. So Amelia suggested this one, and as soon as she said it, I thought, yeah, brilliant. I mean, it's a fantastic tune, and something I remember sort of blaring out of Joe's bedroom a lot of the time.
Really? Okay, let's play this track. What a great song, Kate.
Brings back a lot of memories, that one.
Oh, I bet you said you used to hear it blaring out Joe's bedroom.
Yeah.
Did he ever do air guitar or anything like that?
He probably kept that one to himself, because he would have known how much I'd have taken the mick out of him, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So Aerosmith, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Why this particular track next?
I suppose the lyrics are quite poignant, really. This is another one that was suggested by another one of Joe's friends, Emily, and I think for his group of friends in particular, this was a really meaningful song at the time. And there were a couple of other friends in that friendship group that sadly passed away around a similar sort of time. So I guess it just meant a lot to a lot of people. You can really draw strength from songs, can't you, if the lyrics mean something to you.
Yeah.
Didn't
you write a song for Joe yourself? Did I read somewhere?
I wrote a piece of music, so I can't write lyrics at all.
Oh, okay.
That would be terrible, but no, I wrote a piece of music for Joe's funeral.
Right.
Because I wanted to contribute something.
Yeah.
But I knew at the time there was no way I was in any kind of state stand-up in front of a very, very packed church full of people.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal how many people showed up. We were blown away by that. But so I really wanted to contribute something, and music was very much my thing. So I composed a piece of music, which was then was played in the funeral as a recording.
Yeah.
And we had photos of Joe in a montage that sort of went along with that. And I played. I subsequently arranged that piece of music for a full-sized wind band.
Oh, okay.
So initially it was just me, piano, bass guitar and saxophone, but I just recorded in the kitchen. But subsequently, when I went on to become a musician, I did sort of a full band arrangement of it, and used to play it on concerts a lot as a saxophone solo. So that was lovely. It was always incredibly meaningful to be able to do that. It's like doing this. It's getting Joe's name out and being able to talk about him is such a fantastic, well, it's an honour really, you know, to have the opportunity to keep him in people's minds, and that piece of music, the way that it sort of evolved and developed over the few years afterwards was a really special way for me to do that, because like I said, I didn't feel at the time that I could stand up and talk in front of people, but for me music always was that form of expression, and I could put something into playing my saxophone that I couldn't ever put into words.
Wonderfully put, actually. Has music been a therapy for both yourself and your mum?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, saying with lyrics can be particularly meaningful.
Yeah.
And Joe was really into music. He played a little bit of music himself, but he loved listening to music. So having that sort of association of particular tracks that kind of transport you back to a time has been lovely. And yeah, you always find that memories attach themselves strongly to particular songs.
Yes,
that has been a really helpful way of kind of taking ourselves back to happy times.
Processing things as well. Okay, well, this is a great song. It's Aerosmith, and I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Again, another great song.
Tune.
You have picked some great songs here. Are you saying that you went through Joe's playlists on some of them?
Yeah, so it's hard to sort of remember sometimes what is an actual memory and what's something you've projected or you've remembered something you've been told. You know? So when I was doing a little bit of research for today, I dug out a CD of sort of the top 25 tracks that Joe listened to on iTunes, which once I sort of filtered them down a little bit for his street cred, it did sort of leave me with a couple of really good tunes I couldn't really miss out from today.
Really good. So you said that he was involved with Stratford hockey team as well.
Yeah, Joe absolutely loved playing hockey.
Right.
He played in goal for a long time. I don't know why you would want to stand there and have people firing a solid ball at you, but yeah, he loved playing in goal, and then I think he went to Australia at one point on a hockey tour with his school.
Oh, wonderful!
So he absolutely loved hockey, and then when he was at Stratford College, he joined Stratford hockey team, and I think he used to play up front then, probably because he just loved being involved and running around and the glory of scoring rather than the. Probably more than the glory of saving goals. But yeah, that was a huge part of his sort of social life, really, and especially because he'd been to school in Warwick and most of his school friends lived that side of the county. Yes, it was a real kind of turning point for him when he found the hockey club. Suddenly, you know, he had much more of a sort of a place in Stratford. That wasn't just college. You know, and made some really, really good friends through the hockey club.
So he's obviously a very fit young man.
Yes, yeah, disgustingly fit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he used to sometimes come along and run with the Stratford Athletics Club, which my mum is still a member of. Right. And I used to train with them before I joined the army myself. Yeah. And he could just sort of turn up and just leave everyone in the dust.
Oh, really?
Just really annoying like that. But he massively prided himself on his fitness, which is one of the reasons really why he decided to join the parachute regiment, because they are, you know, the best of the best really. Yes. If you're going to join the infantry, then that's who you're going to go for. Right. And I think he turned up there, and you know, he's one of the fittest lads on his selection. So he didn't do things by halves at all. No.
So was he a very determined young man? In whatever he set his mind on, would he just go for it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So last night, in sort of preparation for coming here today, I was reading a little blog post that Joe put on his Facebook page. It would have been probably 2006, 2007, something like that. So originally, when Joe moved on from Warwick School and came to Stratford College, I think the thing he was most upset about, or the only thing he was upset about, possibly about not being at Warwick School anymore, was losing the cadets, because that had been the thing that had really drawn him to it. Yeah. So he joined the Territorial Army here in Stratford, the Signals, and you know, totally threw himself into that, and you know, just loved every minute of it. And this blog post that he wrote so it must have been about 2006, was at the point that he sort of realised that he'd had brilliant time with the Signals, but he needed the next challenge. And I think he knew that if he stayed with them, there wouldn't be an opportunity necessarily to deploy to Afghanistan.
How old was he at that time, Kate, roughly?
He must have been 17, I suppose, when he was kind of thinking about all of this. 17, 18, I guess. So he knew that he probably wasn't going to get an opportunity to deploy while he was here with the Signals. And because he was due to go to Sandhurst, as you mentioned earlier, I think Joe felt that if he was going to be an officer and be in a position where he expected other people to follow his orders, he needed to be prepared to carry out those orders himself.
Right.
So that was one of the reasons why he decided to go to the parachute regiment, because he knew, they were always first in the thick of it, getting stuck in. So he knew that if he was to transfer across to the 4th Battalion Parachute Regiment, which is the reservist battalion, that would give him the opportunity to deploy. And it was, a big step up in terms of the challenge. The pass rate for getting through P Company, their selection is pretty tough. It's most people don't get through, so it ticked a lot of boxes for him.
Right.
And this blog post is him kind of talking about the challenges that it's going to present.
Mm-hmm.
And he dwells on his time with the Signals and says about how fantastic it was. And he talks about an event that the Royal Signals do every year. It's called the Lanyard Trophy. Yeah. And it's a 40-mile race. You put in a team of 8 people from your regiment, and you go and run over Brecon Beacons or Dartmoor or, somewhere hilly and fairly unpleasant. You go and run over the hills for 40 miles, carrying a lot of weight. And obviously, try and get around as fast as you can. And so Joe did this in 2006 while he was with the Signals here. And he talks about how when he first signed up to it, doing 10 miles with half the weight had felt like a big deal.
Yes.
And yet by the time they completed the event, and his feet were bleeding and back was hurting. But he just absolutely loved it.
Did he?
And so I think that was a really big moment for him of okay, actually, I've done this and I seem to be in pretty good shape. I'm bleeding a little bit, but actually, I'm fine. I could probably go around and do it again. So, what's the next challenge? So he was always looking for that next thing to push himself. He was never really content to sit still, either sort of literally or in terms of pushing himself onto the next big thing.
So did he sort of discuss these decisions that he was making with yourself and his mum?
He didn't really discuss all of that with me. At that point, I suppose we were still just being typical bickering siblings. But yeah, he sort of talked through all of his sort of dreams and plans and everything with my mum. It wasn't really until the year that he actually deployed that Joe and I first started to have, real grown-up conversations about things. And I remember one particular occasion we were on holiday as a family, but Joe and I went to the pub and just doing normal things like having a pint and playing darts and just actually enjoying spending time together as two normal human beings that weren't, trying to beat each other up. And we had this really honest conversation, and I was really struck by how much thought he'd put into everything.
Yes.
He wasn't kidding himself about what he was going to be doing in Afghanistan. Yeah. He went into everything very, very determined, very focused. Very well thought through.
Yes.
As much as he could be. My daft, silly older brother, he was also very mature.
Yes.
And the fact that he volunteered to go as well, I think, said a lot.
Absolutely.
It's one thing to go because your regiment's going, and that's just what's happening. But actually, to be asked if you want to volunteer and be the first guy outside the boss's office to put your name on the list, that was Joe, through and through, really.
What was your feelings on it at the time, Kate?
I suppose I just took my lead from Joe, and it was something that he was so passionate about. Yeah. We had some kind of moments of heart-to-heart conversations, and obviously I was worried because, you know, who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
But, you know, he wanted to go, he wanted to be there, he wanted to have that experience with his regiment, and, you know, I was never going to begrudge him that, and I don't.
No, of course
you know,
not.
the fact that he chose to be there, sort of, for me, that's more important than anything else.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
know, and to be negative about that, it takes that away from his choice.
Yeah, yeah, and the decisions that he made and the bravery he showed and the courage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Fleetwood Mac, go your own way. Kind of ties in with that, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, no, Joe knew his own mind, and you know, he wasn't stubborn and awkward at all. You know, I don't mean like that way, but he knew his own mind, and he was driven and I say very focused.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that does kind of describe him quite well. But again, it's a great tune, and it's one that did come up as a well played track of his. Yeah.
I'm loving this choice of music, Kate.
Yeah, he you know, he did actually have good taste in music.
Yeah.
It could have been really difficult if he'd had, you know, a rubbish choice of songs. But,
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like we've picked okay today.
Definitely. So how similar are you to Joe in characteristics, would you say? Have people said you're so similar to your brother, or?
People certainly notice physically there's a lot of similarities. When I first got my hair short, my mum was just blown away, I think, by how much I now look like Joe.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of well, I've certainly taken a lot of inspiration from Joe and his outlook on life.
Yes.
So that, I suppose, is the big thing, really, is kind of trying to emulate his enthusiasm and sort of gung-ho attitude, and, you know, grabbing opportunities, you know, everything, you know, every opportunity that would come his way. And I remember a few years back, one of my aunts actually said to me, you know, we don't see them very often because of, you know, geography, but she would keep up with what I'm doing through Facebook. I said, do you know what, you do so much stuff, it's almost like, you know, you're living two people's worth of, you know, you're always kind of, you're doing things for you and you're doing things for Joe, and you know, you just kind of throw yourself into everything. But that's, you know, who Joe was, and you know, so that's kind of a nice trait, I suppose, to share with him.
Yes, definitely.
And, you know, because he was only 20,
yeah,
he had an incredibly short life, but he packed so much into it.
Didn't he? Yes.
And I said, you know, a couple of times he never sat still.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, one of the really comforting things is that, you know, you can look at those 20 years and go, well, he didn't really waste any time.
No, exactly.
And so that's something I've always been really conscious of, is, you know, you don't know what's coming.
No.
So, you know, why not just grab everything, grab life? You know, and it's nice that sort of ethos kind of comes across in a few of the songs that we've chosen.
Definitely. So when you go across the country, maybe even across the world, because I know your mum Naomi was out in Australia last year, wasn't she?
She was, yeah.
Was that to do with bereaved families?
Yeah, so this time last year, Mum was in Australia. She was invited as a sort of VIP guest, really, to represent British families of troops that had been killed. And so it was a former commanding officer of 2 Para, who was then working in Australia. Can't exactly remember his job title now, but you know, doing something quite sort of quite interesting over there. And he was tasked with putting together their annual commemorations in Canberra. And so he invited Mum to go over, representing Joe, representing, say, British families, and to lay a wreath at their big commemorative service,
how wonderful.
Which was just incredible. You know, and I think any time we've been asked to do anything like that over the years, you know, it is a huge honour, not just to have the opportunity to represent Joe, but there are, you know, very sadly, there's a lot of families in our situation.
Yes.
So any opportunity really where we're asked on behalf of everybody to do something like that, you know, that's not something that either of us would ever kind of take lightly. You know, it's a huge thing to do. And Mum was absolutely, you know, touched to be invited. And
yes.
yeah, I was kind of keeping track of what she was up to from the other side of the planet. But just quite amazing, really.
Because you did the Festival of Remembrance as well, didn't you, at the Royal Albert Hall?
Yeah, 2008. That was something.
That was incredible. I remember watching it, and I was very emotional, I have to say, watching it. The music was phenomenal, I think, for that particular
It was.
service.
It really was. Again, we were pretty honoured to be invited to, not just to be there, but actually to have the opportunity to talk about Joe.
Yeah.
And then to be leading the War Widows onto the stage with Catherine Jenkins singing.
I know.
We look back and think, how on earth did we get through that?
That was going to be my next question, because I often watch that and think, how on earth... I mean, you're both remarkable women, for a start, totally. But how on earth did you get through that? What was your thinking when you were walking down those steps? Can you remember?
Mainly, please don't fall over. I think that was
keeping time as well. I think Mum said.
Well, luckily, I can march in time, so I was all right on that front. But I think we weren't quite prepared. For just how big how emotional it was going to be.
Yes.
I don't think I'd ever watched it before. I may have done, but sort of everything pre-Joe, so it would have, I might have had it on but not thought about it in the same kind of way. So I didn't really appreciate how the whole thing works and how, what the reaction would be. And so at the point where the curtains opened and we stepped off down the steps and the entire audience in the Albert Hall stood up.
Wow.
It was, oh blimey, this is a big thing. And sort of processed through the floor and then up onto the stage.
Yes.
And turned around, and especially on the evening performance, going, the Queen's up there, the Queen's up there, the Queen's up there. It was completely and utterly surreal. And my grandparents came down on the day as well that they were in the audience.
Wonderful.
So, kind of knowing that they were there with us was incredibly special.
Definitely.
And we had our casualty visiting officer, a fantastic guy called Mike Brennan. He was looking after my grandparents on the day, just to be part of something that is a huge part of the Remembrance Weekend. It's a huge part of the nation's way of commemorating, but it's not it's not a purely a solemn couple of hours.
Not at all. No.
So then it was fantastic to be there and get to listen to all this brilliant music. And this was November 2008, and I already knew that I wanted to join the army as a musician. So actually to be sat there seeing them doing their job was a fantastic opportunity as well. But
I think Hayley Westerner was there, wasn't she?
She was singing as well,
and she sang a beautiful song, "Today Won't Come Again." Beautiful song. I think when I looked at it and I see yourself and your mum on the stage there, you look so proud.
Yeah,
that's what
absolutely.
I love. So proud.
It was an amazing thing to be able to do, and it was all still very raw.
Yeah,
we were only talking a few months after we lost Joe, and I think we just sort of tackled everything one at a time.
Yes.
All the sort of big events that happened between when we lost Joe in the June, and then probably for at least 12 months there was always something big that we kind of just had to get through.
Yes.
There was obviously the funeral, and then there was the homecoming parade in Colchester when all of 16 Air Assault Brigade and the Paras came back, and then there was Remembrance Sunday and the Festival of Remembrance, the first Christmas, the first birthday. There was always something. Yeah. So you kind of know you can't fall apart because you've got to still be able to do all these other things that are still going to be happening in the next couple of months. So we just, I don't know how we sort of survived really, other than just drawing strength from each other.
Yes.
I suppose I just looked at my mum and thought, okay, she's coping with this. She's being really strong, so that's what I'm going to do. And we just kind of held each other up, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And got each other through. And the family, the whole family were fantastic, and friends in Stratford, St Andrew's Church in Shottery.
Yes.
the parachute regiment have been phenomenal the entire time. There were a lot of people that supported us, but kind of those moments like standing on the stage at the Albert Hall, we were sort of clinging to each other.
I could see,
all of us, we'd never met the other ladies or the widows. We'd never met them before the rehearsal the day before. We were all kind of clinging to each other and sort of just drawing that kind of joint strength, really.
Yes. It was remarkable, absolutely remarkable.
It was, such an honour to be there and to do that.
So Coldplay, Yellow.
Yeah.
Why this one?
Again, just a brilliant tune. But as I sort of alluded to just then, I was a musician in the army. I joined in 2009, so just under a year, really, after we lost Joe. And, me joining up was something that I'd talked to Joe a lot about. And he was really chuffed, actually, that I was choosing to follow his footsteps into the army. I certainly wouldn't have chosen to go to the parachute regiment band.
Right.
Had Joe not been killed, I would have wanted to stay well clear of anywhere that he'd been. But actually, going to that band was a huge part of my healing process.
Yes.
Being surrounded by a lot of people that knew him, going to all the really big key commemorative events for the Paras, Arnhem, Normandy, all of those. It was just fantastic to be involved in all that. But one of the absolute best things that I did as a musician in the army was in 2010 over Christmas. I had the opportunity to go out to Afghanistan as a musician, and so I spent 2 months over Christmas as a guitarist in a sort of 6-piece rock band, and we went all around Helmand Province.
Oh, wow.
And so we were there. So it was Christmas time. We were there to provide morale to the troops.
Yes.
And so we would go everywhere we could get to, whether it be by helicopter or by armoured vehicle. And we just bounced around, really, feeling like rock stars on tour. It's just slightly weird when you've got your guitar in one hand and a rifle in the other.
Yeah.
But we bounced around everyone that we could get to, just to try and make their day a little bit better.
Yes.
And, there was nothing like that when Joe was out there, but it was nice to think, well, if I can't do it for him, I can do it for his mates. And the fact that we were there as the Parachute Regiment Band, and we were going out to visit the Parachute Regiment and, Airborne Forces and the whole of the battle group, it was a huge thing for me as part of my, processing everything.
Yes.
Obviously, a really difficult thing to do as well, and there were points in that were really, really hard. But Yellow was one of the songs that we played, and I remember a particular gig that we did for 2 Para, and we'd been to see them just sort of by chance. We'd been to this particular forward operating base quite a few times. And we were playing Yellow, and the commanding officer at the time was doing air guitar. So this song has such a kind of strong association for me with Afghan and the Parachute Regiment. And even though it's not necessarily a song that I don't know whether Joe particularly liked it, for me it has so much association with all of that I couldn't really miss it off the list today.
Okay.
All the things that you do.
Another great song there, Kate. Now, when I see Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire, in the playlist, I thought, what?
Yeah, it doesn't quite fit genre-wise with some of the choices, but no, the Paras have just have a thing for Johnny Cash, which I didn't discover until I was in Colchester with the band myself, and we had this rock band, and every gig we did for the Paras, they always demanded Johnny Cash.
Really?
And I was slightly baffled by this, because it's he's a fantastic musician, but it's not somebody that you would necessarily expect blokes in their 20s to be listening to. But he seems to be 100% part of Parachute Regiment culture.
Right.
And so I was always really keen that our band would play a bit of Johnny Cash, and it took years to persuade the others that this was a good idea. And I think it was one of the last gigs I ever did with the rock band when we actually finally did play Ring of Fire. And sure enough, everyone loved it. I thought, I've been telling you for years we should do this. So yeah, I absolutely couldn't have missed out Johnny Cash today.
It's a great song.
The Ring of Fire, the Ring of Fire.
Oh, a classic.
You can't not smile listening to
No,
that song,
you can't. No, very quirky. On to Incubus now and Drive, because time is going away from us, unfortunately. Why this particular track, Kate?
This was another one that was recommended when we put out a plea to some of Joe's friends. Emily, she suggested this one as something that Joe really loved and used to listen to all the time. He always loved having music on in the car. You know, so this was a good sort of car tune, I think, for him.
Great. And yet another great song there. Well, Kate, the hour has gone so fast. I can't thank you enough for coming in.
Oh, no, well, thank you for the opportunity. You know, Joe's never going to be far from our minds, but, you know, having the opportunity to just chat about him in a public space is...
He was a remarkable young man.
He was.
Absolutely remarkable young man, and it's my pleasure to talk about him. It's My Life we're going to finish with. Why this particular track by Bon Jovi?
So we couldn't miss this one out. We actually had a quote from the song engraved on a trophy that we dedicated in Joe's name for a race that the parachute regiment used to organise. And so the line, you know, it's my life, it's now or never, I ain't going to live forever, I just want to live while I'm alive. You know, that absolutely sums up the 20 years that we had with Joe.
Brilliant,
yeah, couldn't leave it out today.
What's your favourite memory of Joe?
I think probably my fondest memory of just myself and Joe would be the time I was saying about before, where we went to the pub and played darts and actually talked to each other like, you know, like people who liked each other, like proper grown-ups for the first time ever. But I think generally, you know, the memories that I really kind of cherish are just, you know, family times, going to my grandparents' house and having a barbecue in the garden, and Joe, you know, playing tennis in the garden with my little cousin who was, you know, tiny at the time, and just being there and being such a big part of anything that he was in. You know, you couldn't fail to notice that he was there because he just made everyone laugh. He got everybody involved, got everyone together, and, you know, he was just lovely to be there with.
Do you feel Joe's spirit is still with you every day?
I do. I think, you know, and there's been specific times where I've really felt that. But, you know, I draw a lot of strength from thinking about him and thinking about how he would approach situations.
Yes.
You know, I've always taken a lot of inspiration from him.
Yes.
And I think that'll probably continue.
I know both yourself and your mum are very proud, and rightly
Absolutely.
so. He appeared to be a lovely, lovely young man.
Was. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you.
And we're going to leave you with Bon Jovi and It's My Life. Lots of love, everybody. Take care, and I'll be here same time, same place next week.